Hi and happy Thursday, everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is June 30th, 2022, and the topic for the day is called SkyHiking. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening June 19th through the 21st, 2022, and this is show number 157. We're going to catch a few frames today of the summer solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere as we look at some things happening, oddities and strange things happening above the skies of Miami, Florida, which is a subtropical to tropical climate, just so you know. All right, so before we jump into things, I just want to let you know I am recording outside today, so you might hear some extraneous noises that do not belong to me whatsoever. We may hear voices screaming, dogs barking, planes, helicopters, lawn equipment, who knows. But we'll try to power through this today because this is a very narrow and limited window I have to record this, so hope you can bear with me and hopefully at least the noises are entertaining. All right, so before we really get into the heart of the show, I just wanted to point out that yes, sky hiking is a little tongue-in-cheek play on the word hitchhiking because we have a seeming cloaked craft or imprint of a triangular craft or something of some type here hanging out in a quote-unquote cloud. I say that with quotes because this doesn't even look like an actual, natural cloud. It looks very artificially constructed. And when I see something like that, I put cloud in quotes, little air quotes, because to me, that's just a type of plasma. That's just going to be my go-to when I talk about cloaking material. It just means it's something heavier and denser than water vapor, heavier than clouds that really clings to things and hangs around the atmosphere for a long time. That said, let's move along. This was my alternate cover slide I was toying with. I was going to call the show Sky Crackle, and you'll see why in the slides coming up. But I also want to point out on this one that, and we'll get to, covering this in more detail in the show coming up. But whenever you see this red-pink signature, very pronounced in any of the images, I do recommend you take a look at the description box below to see what could be causing that. I lay out a few ideas of what could be causing this. You may have a few notions of your own on it as well. And it's just good also to look at other Earth and Sky watching channels to kind of compare notes and see what's going on around the world. And this is over the skies of Miami. There's a lot going on worldwide. That there's a lot of things that do line up, and we start to see some interesting patterns happening across our planet. All right, so instead of starting off with a Words, Wisdom, and Spirit of the Day page, if you've followed any of my shows before, and actually I'd like to say thank you so much for being here to everyone, whether you're new or returning to this channel. I really appreciate you stopping by and checking some of these things out with me. So I'm just noting here, Strange Storm. I'm going to play a few short video clips before we get into the heart of the show. And this one is just going to be showing you kind of a baseline as kind of the mood of a sudden storm that started developing almost nearly overhead. And it's similar to a couple shows back, or the previous show, I can't remember, where all of a sudden this really dark storm rolled in, and it had a very unusual character and feel to it. And also, it was extremely low in the local sky here. And so it was really noteworthy. And so again, I'm going to play this now, hopefully without screaming going on in the background, just so you can kind of hear the initial thunder as it came in. And then we're going to see how it progressed very fast and how it morphed and changed in very strange ways. So here we go. You'll see what I mean when we get to the other clips. But here we go, just a little baseline to hear what's going on. And I'll just play it again one more time. And sorry, it's a little bit mappy, the imagery, but bear with me. Okay, so here we have a little bit of, I would call like tame thunder. You hear it kind of echoing a little bit in this area. So now we're going to look at this one. Just a few minutes later, it started to change. And what was interesting, and again, sorry, this is a little bit mappy and blurry, but here we have this weird cloud started to come in, this overall cloud formation, and it had this really ethereal or otherworldly cyan white kind of light illuminating it from behind. And I have noted this on previous shows. When I see that, to me, that's some type of craft in there generating this extraordinary light. It really stands out, and you're not going to perceive it so much or pick it up on this a little bit grainy and blurry video. It was getting late in the evening, and my phone can't do too much. But anyway, I knew something different was happening here. Now we are going to hear there was a flash of quote-unquote lightning happening off screen just before I taped this. And I say lightning in quotes again because it seems very artificial these days, and I've documented it on other videos why I say that. We don't have true lightning bolts anymore like we used to in this area in decades past. Now they even seem almost like lamplight flashing on and off or illuminating the whole sky instead of just a specific area. Things are really happening that are really strange lately, and I've documented it on other shows, so I invite you to go look at those. And again, also to go look at other Earth and Sky watching channels that are catching these really weird anomalies happening in our skies these days. Anyway, there's kind of a flash that happened right before this. What's really strange, and if you can wear earphones or earbuds, I highly recommend that for this clip, because in the next coming clips, just to really catch the audio, to its best, what happens is the thunder is going to come crashing in on this side of the screen, and then you're going to hear it as it translates and moves all the way across. But what's weird is, instead of just the typical echoing and reverberation and then it tapers off kind of sound from the area of origin of the quote-unquote lightning bolt or flash or lamp, it starts to really like race across the sky like a rocket in this direction. Really strange. I have not heard that before. It's almost like somebody shot a bullet going this way, and like a ricocheting kind of sound happening going off to the left. So I'll just play it. You'll hear it, and let's get to it. And I'll play it one more time. So again, instead of the sound staying local and like just reverberating out a little bit, this thing, it's almost like it's projecting and throwing out that sound in a very directional way going off to the left of the screen. I'm just noting it's just really bizarre. All right, let's move on. Now this one is a lightning, go again, lightning in quotes, crack and echo, and you'll see why I've got lightning in quotes in a minute. But here's for the sound. Unfortunately, I did see something up here that looked like very fissure, lightning, but not really what it should look like for the magnitude of the sound that followed. But here we go. And just for fun, I'll play it one more time if anybody wants to hear that crack again. Okay, now the next and last video we're going to take a look at, the little clip, we're going to be looking at this area of the sky. So I did see some weird kind of fissure-like lightning pattern happening over here right before I videoed this. The next one, pay attention to this area up here. So we're going to be looking at this video over here. Pay attention to this area. And then on the left-hand side, I just took a screenshot of a frame where we saw the quote-unquote flash. So this is a lamp. That's not a lightning bolt. That's very bizarre. Anyway, also what it's doing digitally to the camera. Anyway, let's see what we've got over here. When I play it, just note the flash happens in like a nanosecond. You almost miss it. And it's going to happen right after you hear a car horn beep, okay? Okay, so again, we're going to be looking right up here, right after you hear that little beep, and you're going to see the flash that I've, just kind of took a standstill over here. Oh, let's see. Here we go. Okay, so that's all I wanted to document about that little peculiar storm that just kind of developed out of nowhere. Now we're going to get into some of the slides, and if you're new here, I just show what's called an original like this, and then I show what's an enhanced version, where all I've done is taken the original photo and upped or lowered the levels of attributes of the photo, such as brightness, color saturation, contrast, things like that, just to better highlight what's actually going on in the skies, because there's so much particulate, there's so much artificial stuff in the sky to obscure some things that we really should be able to see with the naked eye happening these days. And a lot of times it's also to conceal cloak and craft. Now in this case, I just saw two bodies, two forms that looked a little conspicuous here, some weird patterning going on at B, and like a disc-like thing happening over here beyond. And so with enhancement, what we're paying attention to is patterns, color signatures, movement, trajectories, all that kind of stuff we'll be taking a look at as we get into the show. Now this one, there's just a lot of local disturbance here, and when I see things that are choppy and fuzzy to the naked eye, I call that staccato effect, staccato cloud effect, or just staccato, because it's really choppy and fuzzy. And that effect is going on here, and again, my theory there is that we've got a lot of either multiple craft or one very large craft sometimes up in the sky that's cloaked, and it's sending out either electromagnetic wave activity or something sonic for sonic waves, or maybe even it's just heat emitting off of this, machinery, or the power source is causing it, or it's sent out deliberately to help cloak a wider field, that it's sitting in. Anyway, those are just some theories. And but here there's a lot of very curious things I can't explain. I'm just going to present this to you to see that I'm flagging these oddities and see what you think might be going on. But clearly we have a lot of disturbance here, and then we have something very straight happening here that's totally, out of character with everything else going on above it, even though it's all really close locally in the local atmosphere here. So as always too, I like to say, or I say it in my shows, again, forgive me if you're returning, just put your little earmuffs on if you're tired of hearing it. But when I record these shows, I look at it, view things on a laptop screen, so a bigger scale. Now, if you're viewing this show on a smaller handheld device that brings it down to more of like a thumbnail size, you're going to see things completely different. And so I can't run both at the same time as I'm recording the show, so I'm just taking this off from the perspective of a bigger screen. So keep that in mind, and if you're fortunate enough to have a bigger screen plus a smaller screen at your disposal, and you can view the show on both concurrently at the same time, just play it and then look up and down between the two different scales of screens, and again you can pick out different things. It's just a fun way maybe to view the show. All right, so now we're going to keep going, but this is looking south over a park, and so there's a little bit of a wider expanse of the southern horizon to take a look at. But again, keep in mind the color signatures. Those are very telling sometimes. We've got brighter white-ish color here, while we've got greens and grays, and then even some plums and mauves and violets going on. Just a very strange sky that day. Now in the same area a little bit, I think later, here is some more patterns, developing clear patterns, circular, geometries or ellipsoidal. And then we look at the right-hand side at the enhancement. And actually, before we jump to the right side, if you go back to the left, these started to look like points of light to me, having a little bit of a triangular shape. So when we get to the right-hand side with enhancement, we can see it looks like some object is back there that's kind of masked or, cloaked out, that has its own illumination, because, we're looking toward the afternoon. This is south. This is not in the eastern sky where we'd have bright points of light like that at this time of day. Anyway, a lot of strangeness going on in here. I'm just going to drop this one and leave it for all of you to take a look at a little more on your own time, see what you can pick out in that scene. And now this, we're going to jump to the north, and just this whole thing felt weird. And when we look at it with enhancement, we can see a little bit better why I was detecting that maybe. We got this burst of brighter, white happening over indigos, blues, blackness here. And what's really strange is on the left side where the sun is setting, at this hour, it's almost 8 o'clock at night, we still get something bright white with some reds. And then to the right, which is toward the east, we get this weird color signature, which should not be there at all. So it's very interesting. And this looks like an object to me. It looks like there's a circle in here. You may have to pull this up on a bigger screen to see it. Maybe it's okay on the thumbnail size. But anyway, to me, this looks like this object came blasting in through here onto the scene, and that's like a vapor trail. So see what you think. Also, this is kind of strange hanging out over here. All right, now we're going to look still northwest, and we're getting this burst all of a sudden. After looking at that scene, we started to get a wider field of this red-pink signature in the sky, and with enhancement we can really see it. And again, these don't even look like real clouds. They look very artificial. Again, we don't have something moving horizontal and then something more vertical. you know, in the same territory of sky if it's a natural system. What's really weird here too is this extraordinary kind of pink-violet color erupting down here. So something was going on, something was up literally, that doesn't typically happen because I don't normally get these extraordinary colors on such a big scale overhead. Then we're going to look to the south-southwest. Again, we're picking up that color we were just looking at. And then this gets really dark, which is also very strange. And with enhancement, we're going to be able to see things better. That we have this burst of like white, but then we've got reds and pinks, the dark color. And then we have this strange, very distinct movement coming on an angle into the scene. This is kind of like curving out and doing something totally different. It's just the overall sky was really strange. So here's some exaggerated enhancement just to get at what could be going on. Here's that movement that was coming in on sharp angle while this is curving out this way. We also see something kind of in a yellow-orange signature. It looks like a little bit of a structure forming here. So all of this looks really strange. And we're going to look at it. This is a slightly distorted panorama, actually. I forgot to label it as such. But we're looking east, so north is to the left and the south is to the right. And we see this, you know, band of that pink, pink-red. And again, now this is looking off in that range of sky. No red-pink really should be happening right here. It would be happening, you know, off to the left of the screen. But here we go. So it's very pronounced. And then we get this blast of whiter, you know, lighter energy happening. It's just all really bizarre. And we see it a little bit better here. So this is now looking to the west, and right is north, left is south. And this gets really interesting because the photo below, the image below, is the original. And we go ahead and enhance it, and then you don't really see much over here, but then it looks like an object is popping out here, like a crystalline structure that's very white while everything else has a color. And then here too, why are we getting this kind of blast of white with reds and pinks surrounding it? Looks like an object might be cloaking back in here. As always, like I say, the more you look at any of these images, the more you're going to find that looks just odd in there. Here's another oddity looking west-northwest, the same time frame. And I just noticed this was a very pronounced shape happening below, like a blanket of stuff above it. So we look to the right with enhancement, and it has a very specific pattern kind of structure forming in this thing that does not look like a cloud, typical cloud. And this thing is just kind of standalone, very pronounced shape on the horizontal, you know, positioning. While this is all diffuse and fuzzy, we have like a dark beam coming down, but yet it doesn't seem to affect or cross this object. Just a lot of strange things going on in there that lead me to believe this is a cloaking craft. Here we're zooming in a little bit more. You can see kind of a structural pattern or patterning happening in here that wouldn't take place in a typical cloud. That's a very straight line, you know, in there. Anyhow, I'll keep going. And also that, you know, it's a brighter white, you know, signature here, and everything else is more of a color. Is also kind of suspect. All right, now we're going to go back over to the southwest, and again we still see this, you know, reddish, you know, pink signature. Again, strange texture, totally different in character than this diffuse stuff. It has to be just like cloaking material. And this down here at sea doesn't even look like typical cloud either. So I'm just going to lay this out here for you to look at more in your own time. Again, just note these distinct, very different patterning in the sky, even though it's all slammed up right next to each other. And again, the altitude of this is extremely low and not characteristic of skies of the past. I've been on this planet many decades, have not witnessed these quote-unquote clouds being so low in this area. And here we're going to look to the southeast, and again it's a little after, well, it's almost 8:30 in the evening. And what caught my attention was this series of waves and patterns, some dark objects coming at different angles. We look to the right with enhancement. It just looks really bizarre. And then at the same time, what really caught my attention was this reddish pink hue. You know, over here you see the original. To the naked eye it was there. This huge beam coming out in the southeast. So this is mostly looking east at nighttime. So why is that there? That shouldn't be there if it's a normal sky or a normal, natural, you know, occurring thing. And then here we get some straight lines coming across this way, and then some banked sharply up on angles. So you better believe we're going to zoom in on that area, which we are here. to see what is causing these forms. And then we get a blurry effect, like something's in cloak right around here. We look at it with some enhancement. We really get a burst of that color signature that looks like it's being heavily blanketed out and veiled by something. Again, particulate or God knows what. And then here we go, very distinct form. And then these, bank up sharp here and then come across here. So I'm going to say all of these are cloak and craft kind of moving across, doing their own thing and their own patterning. See what you think. All right, now we come to the original of the cover slide. And just again, to the naked eye, you can see this darker triangular form. With enhancement, it really lights up, so to speak, or darkens out. Contrasts, we really see it, and we see this cloaking material moving in front of whatever this is. Now, I do tend to think this is an object, just the way things are tufting up around it. Could it be a portal or a hole? Absolutely. But you be the judge. See what you think is going on here. Now, this is just an exaggerated enhancement of it, just to kind of get at different color signatures. Again, illustrating we've got more yellow around some kind of void, or maybe it's just an object cloaked. All right, now we're going to turn our attention to the north on a different day. And this was just really bizarre how this was shooting up vertical, again, extremely low in the sky, and just had a very pronounced, almost like spiky, edgy patterning to it, while everything else back here is just kind of a whiteout. And then we see some ridges here of some waves or some patterning of maybe a cloak and craft. And maybe a cloak and craft back here too, this darker body with a pure curve to it. Anyway, we look to the right at the enhanced version. I'm just going to drop this one here for you all to take your time when you have some leisure time maybe, and really see what else you can find in this image as well. Here I also see like a triangular outline going on here. A lot of strange stuff happening in this scene. All right, now we're going to look at a panorama, and we're looking north is to the right, south is to the left, and it's a little distorted, but gives you an idea of what's going on in the western sky. And again, it's almost 8 p.m., and we just started to see like circular motion, kind of concentric circles, little different standalone types of waves, something popping out here strange, and then this kind of flurry of other activity by contrast. It was just looking very strange, but you definitely see how something is ellipsoidal happening in here. So with enhancement, we get a very different picture, a very interesting perspective on this, where we get red pinks and mauves happening over here around this white blast, and then everything over here is more dark, but yet we still get that weird ethereal cyan white blast over here, and it looks like more structured things kind of popping out over here. Sorry for my voice. So I do my read on this is absolutely there's some type of cloak and craft activity happening over here. We even get like a dark triangular form happening here. See what you find in that scene. All right, now now we're looking east. I don't know why I'm voice cracking all over the place today. But looking to the east, we have this ripple effect, these really weird waves, very distinct. And so I absolutely wanted to see this with enhancement. And even up here, it looks like we have a craft diving down, more like an arrowhead shape, maybe down here, symmetrical. Something's happening up in here that looks like cloak and craft activity on the imprint, like sky imprint, the side of things. Then here we just see undeniable, let's just say engineered, waves or patterns. To me, that's cloaking pattern. And if we take this as an overall shape, it's almost looking like a whale with a large tail in the back, but look how rigid that curve is. And then look how we have this line undulating like a wave. It's very structured, looks like a cord, moving through here. And actually this patterning reminds me almost of a blue whale, like the side of the blue whale, those grooves. So we're going to zoom in on that a bit. And here we go. This was to the naked eye. You just see these pronounced lines, concentric. We look to the right, and you can sure as heck see this patterning. So is it just a cloaking technique, or is something more going on than meets the eye? It also looks like we have some type of form diving down, intersecting with this thing. So have a look around, see what you see. All right, now we're looking northwest, and what caught my attention here is we have one character of quote-unquote cloud moving this way, and something very different moving in opposition. And so we're going to zoom in and look at this C-point one especially. Of course, I think there are also other objects cloaking back here because we see one line, second line, third line. Could be multiple craft back there or one larger craft. Hard to say. But I can say something really strange is going on with C.1, so we'll zoom in at C.2 here, the original, here with enhancement. Now what gets really interesting here is we have like a little a stick popping up with like a bulbous end there, and over here too, symmetrical. So I even think this is some type of craft, maybe designed to look like a little like a organism or bioorganism even, because it looks like two eyes, and this would be like the cockpit or the bridge, and then the bow of the ship is what I'm seeing, and this would be like the tail end of it over here. Very intriguing. Anyway, see what you think about that. Now we're going to look to the west, expand it out a little bit, and just a lot of weird activity again. We have like a curved thing moving on here as this is coming down very with a hard edge to it. A lot of this weird ripple effect in the sky. Something dark looks like it's cloaking or trying to emerge here. We look to the right-hand side and we get more evidence of the strangeness. Even this dark body here, backlit, happening at C.1, it's coming straight down vertical. We have other stuff moving on angle. This is doing yet something else. It almost looks like this is like exploding up out of this. So maybe this is even a portal or something that this thing is just flying out of, or maybe getting sucked down into. Hard to tell. But we have rigid structure in here to make me think this is some type of craft that's a mid-cloak. Look, we even have like a stick-like form here. I don't know. It looks very structured, like a machinery or some type of craft. Okay, now we're going to look to the south, and here what caught my attention was strange ripple things happening. Again, parallel lines, something strange, these little points of whiter material happening at B, this strange little on its own little rogue puff cloud with a trail behind it, and then like angles, things on angle here and things coming on opposing angle. So we look to the right, and that's just where I see all this stuff happening. Almost looks like a chevron pattern echoing. What's going on here, I can't tell you, but I think something's emerging out of cloak here. Actually, these little pockets here, these curves coming to this white point, actually look like that's symmetrical. So I think there's a craft perched right in there and coming in or out of cloak state. See what you think. Now we're looking up at a parking lot at a grocery store, where I saw this kind of sky imprint here. When we look to the right at the enhanced version, what's interesting, it seems to be more of like a crystal shape. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so like a hexagonal crystal. Did I do that right? Yeah. Looks like that's an overall crystalline, or not crystalline, but a crystal form. And it's sitting straight up in the sky like that. So with some, again, maybe some cloaking material wafting in front of it. See what you see in that scene. All right, now we're just looking west towards sunset, and just what undeniably caught my attention is that we have a triangular form here and something else that looks like it's cloaking here. With enhancement, I don't get it too much more, but maybe you see what I'm seeing in there with these two distinct shapes. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. Now just looking a little north from where we just were, I also saw these weird things, and they had like this ripple effect, very shaky, kind of patterning happening around them. Again, like maybe some cloaking technique is employed here. So we're going to look at B1 especially, because it has a very straight edge that you could like put a ruler up to it. It's straight and angle, and it's looking like a triangular form, which doesn't happen with natural clouds of yore. So we're going to look at that in more detail here, just as a blow up of the original photo, and then with enhancement. So obviously something else is a different density behind whatever is happening in front of this. And even this quote-unquote cloak running in front of this looks like it has, I don't know, like it has a quality of like a chain or something metallic, with these weird shapes. They look geometric happening in front of it within this stuff. So I don't know, see what you see in this scene. All right, well, I want to say thanks for branching out and looking up at some things here a while. This is normally I say the photo of the day and the close of the show, but this time it's a short video clip. I was very happy to see a group of young squirrels playing up in an oak tree, and actually a group of squirrels apparently is called a scurry or a dray. And I like that because it had rained the day prior, and usually all the beautiful birds and wildlife come out, which might otherwise be conspicuously absent. They really have been lately in the last few years because things have been drier with less rain. in this area. Anyway, enjoy the little chatter. Here we go. And I'll play it one more time. Okay, well, that's it for now. Again, many thanks and tremendous love and peace to you. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.